And welcome back, everybody. If you want to know which races are going to be really the big toss-ups, we mentioned the Connecticut governor's race, but look no further than the House races throughout our region. And let's first start off in New York, where we got some tight congressional ones. And we begin in the 1st congressional district, where Democratic incumbent Tim Bishop, who's had a tough race or two in his time in office, he's facing off this time against Republican Lee Zeldin. It's been called one of the tightest races in the entire country. Recent polls showing Zeldin even at a 5-point lead over Bishop. Some of the Bishop's folks tells me their internal numbers actually have their guy up a point or two. Well, let's go over to Kevin Visa, a reporter on the ground, joins us live from Bishop headquarters in Islandia, New York. Kevin?
Well, Rich, this is one of the closest, as well as one of the most closely watched races in the entire country. 6th-term Congressman Tim Bishop is trying to hold on to his seat, and at this point, really, the election could go either way. A steady stream of voters filed into the firehouse in Mastic Beach to cast their ballots for either Democratic Congressman Tim Bishop or Republican challenger Lee Zeldin.
I voted for Mr. Bishop.
I decided to vote for Zeldin.
Bishop's supporters say they like the job he's done in the last 12 years and want the congressman to stay on Capitol Hill for at least one more term.
He's helping this community, Suffolk County, and all over. I don't know. I think he's an honest man.
But those voting for Zeldin say it's time to elect someone who can help make Long Island a more affordable place to live.
We need a change. That's pretty much all it comes down to. We need more jobs created on the island instead of being sent to Texas, Nevada, and out west.
We caught up with Bishop voting in Southampton this morning, and the congressman said he's confident he'll come out on top in a race that got pretty ugly.
There were times when we veered off the issues and veered into personal attacks, which I think is unfortunate. But, you know, look, it's, campaigning is a tough business.
Now, these two candidates faced off once before in 2008 when Zeldin was defeated by a wide margin. The Republican says a changing political climate is the reason for the different results this time around. In Islandia, Kevin Vesey, Fios, 1 News. Rich.
Thank you very much, Kevin. And reporter Miles Miller joins us now from the Zeldin campaign headquarters in Patchogue.
Okay. Well, this race is hotly contested, and top Republicans in Washington are watching it closely. A lot of money from super PACs have been poured into this race, as it is a really hotly contested race here on Long Island. The race for the east end of Long Island is in a dead heat between incumbent Congressman Tim Bishop and challenger Lee Zeldin. Zeldin, a state senator representing Shirley, is one of a handful of candidates National Republican Party leaders have their eyes on. House Speaker John Boehner campaigned for Zeldin twice during the campaign, which has quickly become one of the most expensive House races nationwide, with campaign spending reaching nearly $15 million. A Siena College poll released Saturday shows Zeldin pulling ahead of Bishop 50 to 45%. This race, a rematch between Bishop and Zeldin, the two-term state senator, lost in 2008 by a wide margin of 58 to 42%. Zeldin's campaign focused on government spending, shrinking the federal government, and simplifying the tax code. He supports a repeal of the Affordable Care Act, but wants both sides to work together.
Republicans and Democrats, liberals or conservatives, whether you are for Obamacare or against, need to sit down at the table to see where we can find common ground to move our nation's health care forward.
Well, Richard, to give you just a sense of how much money flew into this race, the Republican Congressional Campaign Committee spent over $2 million on this race, with loads more money, about $1 million more dollars trickling in from super PACs. So it just shows you how much money and how big the stakes are here in the 1st District on Long Island.
Much, Miles. In fact, last Monday, I moderated the debate between both Zeldin and Bishop, and you had a very invested and animated electorate out there talking about some of the same issues both Kevin and Miles just touched on. All right, let's head over now to the 11th Congressional District, where embattled incumbent Congressman Michael Grimm, believe it or not, he's pulling away here from his Democratic challenger, Dominic Recchia. Latest numbers show Grimm would get this, a 19-point lead over Recchia. That's according to a new Siena College Capital poll that was released Friday night. Now, we're going to have a live report from Grimm headquarters coming up a little bit later. But first, let's go to Amanda Van Allen, who's reporting from Recchia headquarters out on the island. And Amanda, who would have ever thought that a guy facing so many challenges here could be ahead?
Dominic Recchia, a Democrat running for Congress in New York's 11th district, spent the day encouraging people to get out and vote. Of course, only after he voted himself. Recchia's campaign manager said he was not available to speak on camera today and that he's instead focusing on the voters around his district, which is Staten Island and parts of southern Brooklyn.
I voted for Recchia, yes. Mainly I want to come and vote for Democrats.
The former New York City councilman plans to improve the city's education system, do an infrastructure overhaul of Staten Island, and tackle public safety. But Staten Island, traditionally New York City's most conservative borough, has voted for his Republican opponent Michael Grimm since 2011. And some voters today say they want to keep him in office.
He was there for Sandy for a lot of people, and that was very important. So we don't forget.
These voters don't forget, but they do forgive. Congressman Grimm is facing a 20-count indictment for fraud, perjury, and tax evasion. He will stand trial in December.
Yes, he made mistakes, so we did too.
Despite the discouraging poll numbers, Recchia's campaign volunteers went to work today, knocking on doors, passing out flyers, and encouraging people to vote. Recchia will watch the results come in right here at the Vanderbilt Hotel in Staten Island, and we'll be right alongside with him, bringing you the numbers as soon as we get them. Reporting in Staten Island, Amanda Van Allen for Richard French Live.
All right, thank you, Amanda. And let's go now to the 18th Congressional District. Democratic incumbent Sean Patrick Maloney once again facing off against Republican Nan Hayworth. You may remember they flip-flopped. Hayworth was the incumbent. She lost to the challenger Maloney. This time she's running as a challenger, and Maloney trying to keep his job. And the latest Siena polls show Maloney, he's got a 5-point lead over Hayworth, but once again, this is one of the closest watched congressional races in the country, and always a very tight district. Reporter Lee Sheps joins us now from Maloney headquarters in Cold Spring, New York. Lee?
Well, the stage is set behind me for incumbent Sean Patrick Maloney as he hopes to make his way to the podium with another acceptance speech tonight. I'm told a crowd of supporters for the Democrat won't be here until around 9:30 once the polls are closed. Now, take a look at some video from earlier this morning of the freshman congressman voting in his hometown of Cold Spring. Now, he represents voters in Orange, Putnam, parts of Dutchess and Westchester counties. The congressman hoping to defend his post, as you mentioned, against Republican Nan Hayworth. It's been a pretty competitive race because these two faced off just 2 years ago, with Maloney winning Hayworth's seat in the House of Representatives. Now, recent polls, as you mentioned, show the two neck and neck. A Siena poll reports Maloney leading 49-44. Now, in office for the last 2 years, he's passed 13 bipartisan bills. Today, we caught up with Maloney about how he feels going into tonight. Take a listen.
2 years ago, we had the same contest, and we had a bunch of ideas and a bunch of things that I said I wanted to do. Now people can judge me on what I've done, and I'm very proud that I've passed 13 bipartisan bills. I'm proud that they're focused on the middle class, on our infrastructure, on creating jobs, helping our farmers.
Now, a little bit more about Maloney. He served as the senior advisor to 2 New York governors. He's been a part of the Clinton team that balanced the budget and created 800,000 jobs in New York. Now, Maloney said today he was going door to door to get people out to vote. He also said he actually tried to plan on relaxing a little bit, and that included going for a run. It's surprising he had time for that today before he comes here tonight. We are live in Newburgh. Alicia Epps. Back to you, Richard.
All right, thank you very much. Now let's go to the other side, Nan Hayworth's camp, where the Republican fighting to get her old job back. Lisa Salvati, she joins us now from the Hayworth campaign in Bedford Hills, New York. Lisa?
Well, we are at the Palacio Conference Center in Goshen, where Nan Hayworth is hoping to celebrate tonight in her victory celebration. Now, this is a rematch for Hayworth against Democratic incumbent Sean Patrick Maloney. Now, according to the Cook Political Report, which is a nonpartisan political newsletter, this is one of only 22 races in the country considered a toss-up. Now, Hayworth cast her vote in Bedford this morning. Here's some background on her. She's an eye doctor, been married for 33 years to her college sweetheart she met at Princeton. She has 2 sons. She held the seat in 2010 when it was the 19th district, and then it was reshaped and became the 18th district, and she then lost a tough battle to Maloney in 2012. Now, in this race, Maloney has painted her as a right-wing radical. She says she's a moderate, pointing out that she saved for college by working in a steel mill during high school in Indiana. Maloney, who is gay, has criticized her stance on social issues, that she wants to repeal the Affordable Care Act and is against a federal law on same-sex marriage. Now, she believes that same-sex marriage should be up to each individual state. And as far as the Affordable Care Act, well, she says that it's making insurers rich. Now, Hayworth put $1.6 million of her own money into the campaign. She says that she's not an extremist, but rather a moderate, and she even had her son, who is gay, appear in a TV commercial for her, pointing out that she's compassionate and understanding. Now, according to the latest polls, Maloney is ahead of Hayworth 49 to 44% with a 3.8 margin of error percent. And again, it's supposed to be a close race. We'll be keeping our eyes on this one. Could be a nail-biter. Back to you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Andrew, of the races we talked about, and there's a couple others in Jersey, the Garrett race was thought to be a couple weeks a little closer. The polls show he's starting to break away a little bit. Which is the one you think is going to be the most fascinating to watch?
Let's put Grimm and Recchia aside just for the dysfunctionality of that whole race. But Maloney and Hayworth and Bishop and Zeldin in the 1st district are both interesting races because they're both very tight districts. There's not much of a margin for either party. The numbers should favor the Democrats, but the national mood seems to be so pro-Republican that these really do seem like they're stand-ins for the national generic ballot almost. That could help Hayworth, it could help Zeldin to what would otherwise be upset wins in both of those districts.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think it's fascinating. In fact, when we come back from the break, we're going to be joined in studio by Congresswoman Nita Lowey. She's going to join our panel. She's going to tell us how she thinks tonight's going to shake out, not just for her, but for her party, and how she thinks some of these races we talked about will also turn out as well. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
And good evening, meteorologist Jess Noyer. Some sunshine during the day, but some clouds during the night today. No rain, just dry but cloudy. Mid to upper 40s. Southwest winds very light, 5 to 10 miles per hour. Tomorrow, sunshine's going to fight real hard to come out at times. I don't think it wins out as much as today, so we'll call some sun. Mid-60s still not bad. West-southwesterly winds at 5 to 15. High pressure pushing off the eastern seaboard allows this front to drape itself across the region during the afternoon. That means for you at home, a little cloud cover, no rain. But as we start to get into late Wednesday night and Thursday, an area of low pressure develops off this front, races towards the area, and brings a round of heavy rain Thursday, tapering off Friday morning and clearing by the afternoon. Temperatures will fall all day on Friday, which will set us up for a cool weekend, low to mid-50s. A quick shower on Monday, but next week looks to start off dry besides that, and it will stay on the cool side with high temperatures in the low to mid-50s.